you in addiction, or do you know anyone in addiction? You're not alone. Many people have overcome addiction. There is hope and there is help. There are many like you who are now sober and living a great quality lifestyle. Reach out and ask for help. It is never too late. Even if you have relapsed, try again and again and again. And for their family members, there is hope. Treatment works. Try it.
Welcome to the show. This is Unscripted. I'm your host, Grace Msalame, and I'm here with the beautiful couple, Bernard and Judy. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Tunashukuru sana. I'm very grateful because today the conversation is about addiction and overcoming it. And for me, the purpose is to show that you can get to the other side. There is hope, and there is a better future if you're in that position at home. I know for both of you, you're both happily married, doing amazing things. Yes, you do. Doing amazing things for other people who may be going through addiction. But let's start from the beginning. Both of you have a similar story. At some point in your lives, you were addicted to using drugs. So if you could paint that picture for us. How did it start? How old were you? What led to it? Tell us all about it.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Okay. I started using drugs when I was 24 years old.
Okay. What got you there? What happened?
What I can remember, in primary, I never used anything. In high school, I never used anything. I started tasting alcohol when I cleared fourth form. Okay. So I went to college and I started working. Okay. And I met a Nigerian guy who was doing drugs. Wow. For the first time in life, I felt loved. This guy showered me with a lot of money. He used to call me names. So, and
nice names.
Nice names.
Nice names.
You have to point that out.
Yeah. So for the first time in life, I felt like I'm living. So whatever he was doing, I really did not care what he was doing.
I see.
So I remember one day I came home. The previous night I had not slept well. I said last night I didn't sleep well, and there's a lady we used to house. There's a lady who was living with him. This lady.
What do you mean?
There's a lady he used to work, the lady used to work for him.
Used to live with him?
Yes. Yeye ndio alikuwa anatumwa kama Pakistan kuleta drugs. Okay. So she used to live in his house. So when I said yesterday I didn't sleep well, this lady told me, have a puff of this and you will sleep like a baby. And for sure I slept like a baby.
I see.
So the following day I wanted to have the same feeling I had yesterday.
I see.
And then within a period of 2 weeks to 1 month, I was already hooked.
So what was this you're puffing, if you could be?
Heroin.
Okay.
But at that time I used to know the street name. We used to call it Stuff.
Stuff?
Yes.
Got it.
It has like 100 names, street names. So I continued using. Life was okay, but as I've told you, heroin is a very addictive, highly addictive drug. So within a short period, I was already hooked.
When did you know? By short period? How long did it take?
Like within a month.
Really?
You're already hooked. Yeah, it's a highly addictive drug. What happens when you get into addiction? Basically, you stop living. So I got to that point whereby I stopped going to work. I just used to smoke and sleep because it was plenty in the house.
Yeah, I was going to say access to it also.
Yes, it was plenty in the house, so life was just okay. So my life got worse when this guy went outside the country and he was jailed for 1 year. So he had left me a lot of stuff and a lot of money. I also used the money he had left for me.
To buy drugs?
To buy drugs. Wow. At that time, heroin is a bit expensive. 1 sachet used to go for 150. And 1 gram ni kitu inatoshana hivi, used to go for 1800. It's quite expensive.
That's expensive.
So within a short time, pesa ilikuwa imeisha. So what I did, I started stealing from myself. You know how you steal from yourself?
How are you stealing from yourself?
You start selling your own things. So I started selling my stuff. I used to live with him. So we used to live in a 3-bedroomed house. I sold everything, and it was kind of a barter trade because I used to go to the seller, the pedi now. Namwambia niko na hii fridge. And you know those that guy I used to go out with alikuwa tu mkora, so even like everything they had ni zile tu za kuiba, wananunua na credit card. So if it is a fridge ananunua ile ya 200,000 ile kubwa. So kitu kama hiyo fridge I used to napatia huyo mtu ananiuzia ananipatia like 4 grams. So eventually kila kitu ikaenda,
and not even
nikabaki
worth the cost of the things you're selling them for.
You
just
don't
throw away
even
price
care.
just to get something.
So I was telling myself, when I finish everything here, I'll go home, put myself together, and then I come back to Nairobi. I was brought up in the village. I came to Nairobi when I cleared high school. So I finished everything, and I decided to go back home. So that time I was already hooked, but I didn't know.
Bernard, if you could tell us when you started using, how did it happen?
I was 5 years old.
How?
We just come from church, gone home to...
The contradiction, just come from church.
Yes, Sunday school. We went to my grandfather's place. He lived on top of his pub. The pub was his retirement package.
I see.
So we were seated there at the table of men, and I was seated on my dad's lap, and I decided that glass looks enticing. The men are doing something nice. Let me do something nice with them, and
took a sip. So he gave it to you, or he just let you go ahead?
He just let me. And for the first time, I think in the history of Kenya, a child went to school with a hangover the next day.
You're funny.
It was actually a hangover. I remember.
You're kidding?
Seriously.
So you drank enough to affect you?
Yeah, couldn't play like the rest of the kids. I had a very bad headache. I was sick.
I was
sick. I blacked out after a few minutes.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it was in the family. My grandfather drank. My uncles are addicts.
I see.
Now, my generation, we have addicts and alcoholics. Yes.
Because it was never dealt with. It was just a cycle that kept repeating itself.
Kept on repeating itself. And because society said it was okay to smoke and drink. So by the time I was getting to Form 1, I was drinking heavily, I was smoking heavily, started getting into marijuana. Started getting suspended from school, kicked out from school. Started running away from school. Dropped out of 4 universities.
No way.
University of Nairobi, then...
You're dropping out because you just...
Other than issues of financial issues, also getting high.
I see.
Because maybe I'm not able to finish exams, or I'm not able to finish some units, or...
Just like what your wife said, you can't really function.
You can't function. It's a career. It's a career, and you cannot compete with anything else. It takes over everything that you're doing.
What's the worst thing you ever did to get that high?
How much time do you have?
You take us through it.
The funniest thing that I ever did was a neighbor was being visited at a party. So we lived in flats, Madaraka Estate. Usinitafute tafadhali. So we took a sack, put all the shoes in, went to Kibera Line Saba, sold the shoes.
No.
And got high afterwards. Another funny thing is we took an empty bottle of vodka, put water inside, sealed the bottle properly, sold it to a mama nguo. These ladies who sell clothes, and she thought it was very nice Stravinsky vodka. And she gave us very nice money, and we took off.
You go.
Yeah.
What about you, my dear? What's the worst thing you did?
I think the worst thing I did is selling a phone twice to 2 people.
What do you mean?
I come to you, I sell to you a phone, and then after a few hours I come back for it. I tell you, nimeshikwa na mwenye simu na ako pale na ako na polisi. Nipatie hiyo simu, sitakumezeshea. So the guy gave me back the phone, and then I went and sold it to someone else. And you know, when you get into addiction, nobody teaches you to do these things.
Like how does that naturally happen?
It just flows.
Yes.
Like you can borrow somebody's car. use it to do all manner of nonsense during the night, return it to him very nicely. Cops are on his case.
How long were you both hooked?
Me, I was in addiction for 5 years, but the first time, that was like 1 year when I went back home. Because I didn't have money, and I was already hooked. So I had to sustain my smoking. So I started stealing from home, and then I come back to Nairobi and I smoke. So what happened, my mom didn't know what was happening with me. But one of my uncles, Jalijua, something is wrong with Judy, because I went to his shop, I was totally high. So I could not even stand well. Namwambia sijui anibaie maziwa. Akaona, something is very wrong with this girl. So he went and told my mom. When my mom asked me, I didn't deny. So what my mom did, she didn't know about rehabs. She took me to Mathare Hospital.
I see.
Yeah, so when I was taken to Mathare Hospital, niliwekwa kwa psychiatric ward. The drugs you were given there, they used to make me like a zombie. So when she came, she brought me a Bible and she told me to write my name. And I asked her, Mommy, J is written like this, Sama like this. And then she was like, hey, apana. It's like she's getting worse.
Yeah. So
with that, and I managed to manipulate her to get me out of Mathare. When we got to town, I lied to her. Ati, my clothes are somewhere, and that person who is keeping my clothes, I'm owing her 1,000 bob. So give me a K, I get my clothes, and then we go back home. I left her there.
On that note, we'll be right back with more from Judy and Bernard, and just get to hear about if there's anyone at home who you think may be struggling with addiction. I think they can give us some tips and signs on how you can spot and how you can help them. Keep it here. And welcome back. Special thanks to Park in Radisson for hosting us today. We're truly grateful. Judy and Bernard, your story. So you left us off where you left your mom in town.
Yes. So she waited, she gave up, and she went back home. So after all this time, she had not told my dad. So she had to tell my dad now.
So hang on, so the time you go to Mathare 15 days, your father, does he know where you are?
No. My mom hadn't told my dad.
Our mothers cover us until the last minute.
Yeah. So
how did it go when he found out?
When my dad found out, he had a friend who knew about a rehab. I think that time we had only one rehab in Kenya. So my sisters came looking for me, and they told me my dad wanted to take me to a rehab. So I went home, and my dad and my mom, they took me to the First Now Treatment Center. Yeah. I went there for 3 months. Normally a drug addict is supposed to be in a rehab center from 4 months to 6 months. But I stayed there for 3 months, and you know, when I was in addiction, I was very thin. I had become very dark. So venye waliona nimeanza kurudisha mwili kala. So and then when I was growing up, we really didn't have a relationship with my parents. So hata saa zile nawadanganya hawajui. So with that, I managed to manipulate them again to get me out of the treatment center. And I went back home. I stayed for 9 months, and then I went back to using again. Now this is when I hit my rock bottom, because I had messed all my relationships. I had stolen from almost everybody. And I think it got to that point, everybody was tired of me. Kwanza my dad alisema, hey, we had given up. But all this time, my mom was just praying for me. I have a very, very prayerful mother.
Yes.
Yeah, if it wasn't for her prayers, I could have been dead.
But so, what made you feel like this is it? I've had enough.
So one day, I didn't have a place to sleep. Because we used to... Nilikuwa nakaa uko town ya chini, uko Grogon. And remember when I used to live with this man, tulikuwa tunaishi...
A 3-bedroom apartment?
Yes, in Kileleshwa.
Look at that.
So you can imagine, saa zile watu wanatoka ghetto wanaenda uptown, mi natoka huko naenda huko chini. Because I ended up hata naenda Mathare, nakaa huko. Huko Mathare slums, nakaa huko even for a few days. So I didn't have a place to sleep. Tulikuwa tunalala zile lodging za huko chini, huko town ya chini, downtown. you pay 50 bob, you share a bed with people. Na watu walikuwa nakufianga huko, but still you cannot stop. So I didn't have a place to sleep. Siku hata na hiyo 50 bob. So nilikaa nje the whole night na watchman tukiota moto. And then I said, apana.
You don't
This
have
life,
to do this.
apana. I said, I will commit suicide or I get help. So I said, the first thing I'll do, and I don't know why I was doing these things, I'll go and I do a HIV test because I was almost sure I'm positive because of kind of the life I was living. Okay. So I went, I did the test. By the grace of God, it turned out negative. So I said, I'll look for help. The guy who was in that clinic is the one who gave me 100 bob. And that is what I used to take myself to a rehab.
Wow.
Yeah, I took myself to a rehab. I was down for everything. I stayed in that rehab for 9 months. I used to tell myself...
Did you talk to your family? Did they know you were there? Did you reach out and tell them?
At that time, nobody wanted to hear from me.
I see.
I had messed up all my relationships. Okay. So even when my dad was called, I'd say, hey, huyo nimewapatia. You know, he had used a lot of money in the other rehab now. So he had given up on me. So when my mom was called, alisema, Mimi, siwezi afford hiyo pesa. You know, rehabs are not cheap.
They're not.
So, and that time, those ones walikuwa na charge 200 and something. So, my mom said, nampenda lakini mi hiyo pesa yote siwezi pata. So I just stayed there. It is by the grace of God tu walinisaidia. So from there, I stayed there for 9 months, and after I finished my program, I didn't have anywhere to go. So the guy who helped me akasema, instead of going back to the streets, kaa tu hapa usaidie tu pahali unaweza. Them themselves ndio waliona, oh, she can walk with somebody when now the newcomers come nasaidia.
And that's how it started for you.
Yeah, that is how
helping
it started
others
for me.
with addiction.
Yeah. So, and then after some time, there was a rehab that was being opened at Embu, and then now they sent me there. Me, I was going there just to assist. So when they were introducing me, they introduced me as a counselor. So ikabaki tu kama counselor. So I started, because the program we do in the rehab, anybody can take somebody through that program.
I see. But when you look at that, the power of just transformation, and I think the big lesson therein to anyone at home who may have a family member who is addicted, or you yourself, you're going through that struggle. I think the lesson is you have to make that decision. Like your mother, your father, your friends can keep taking you to rehab, but until you're ready, nothing will change, right? For you, when did you hit your rock bottom and decide I'm done?
I can break it down into two.
Okay.
The first part was when I was thinking of committing suicide the third time.
So you also had those thoughts?
Yeah.
That's a common thing that happens when you're...
when you get to a point.
Hopelessness.
So the problem was I'd swallowed so many pills, but because I had so much, what do you call it?
Tolerance
in my body. They weren't doing anything to me.
Wow.
Because plus I was also high at the same time. So in the morning I go to this priest. I'm seated in his office with a lady who's had polio. So she was limping and she's come with her certificates. And now the priest was telling me, because I entered his office first, he tells me, now that lady has got nothing, she didn't finish school, she has a certificate for dressmaking, and she wants to leave. What's wrong with you? So the second part of the rock bottom, then went to get high again. Then later on in the week I got arrested again for the millionth time. And I was in this police station and I'm kneeling down and I'm asking God, take me, I'm mad. Take me to Mathare Hospital. The stuff I'm doing is not making sense. And
you realize you're out of control.
I was out of control completely, because a week earlier I was in the same cell. 2 weeks earlier I was in the same cell. Drunk and disorderly, lots of other nonsense. And a few weeks later on, I was taken to a rehab center, but first I had to get arrested. So I went to a rehab center with handcuffs. Stayed in rehab for 5 months.
So you were taken by force? You didn't take yourself?
By force. But internally, I had already made a decision to change my life. The how was what I was
It
fighting.
was a journey.
Yeah. Most people who enter rehab have an idea of this is what I want to do, but the how, they do not let the people in the rehab centers guide them through that process.
Did you have anyone helping you? For you, was your family with you or friends?
My aunt was very instrumental in getting me to treatment. My grandfather was very instrumental in getting me out of trouble a lot of time. So he was an enabler, yes. But if he
when you're in
didn't,
trouble, he'll get you out.
but if he did get me out of trouble, I might have been serving some other sentences, which maybe I may still be in prison until now. So, first 2 months of rehab, I'm not boarding.
Oh, you're refusing?
I'm
You're
not
rejecting?
boarding.
How? In fact, take us through. How is rehab like?
Rehab, so I didn't attend any sessions, I didn't attend any classes, I was the guy helping in the kitchen. I'm very happy to be there, but I'm not doing the other stuff what other people are doing. So I'm cleaning, I'm doing stuff,
So are you
I'm very happy slashing, I'm very happy being even the groundskeeper. But I'm not boarding sessions.
So what happens in sessions that you didn't want to be a part of?
For anybody going to rehab, they have to be very courageous. You get to see yourself at your nakedest. If there's levels of nakedness, you'll see your soul.
And as a man, that's hard.
And that's hard. You'll not like what you see. You'll see a lot of, let's say, a very big empty hole, which cannot be filled. And moving on, this guy came to rehab and just told me, after listening to my story, when I was my dad, my nini, when I was blaming everything, and he told me, you're an addict.
So eventually you talked about it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So he said, you're an addict. I'm like, hey, you're an addict. Because I've never boarded, so I've never known what these guys were doing. So I decided, let me go through the literature, let me go through the sessions, let me go through this. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Yeah?
Yes.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
Mm.
So when did you two meet? At what point did Judy and Bernard become one?
Later on, when I left rehab, I was able to get my first job in painting. I went back to renovating houses. There's a part of the story which I skipped was I had a business
I see.
for letting houses and renovating them. So I was making about 300K a month. And ended up at the end, I was getting in sales all the time. I was a Kamagera, a Makanga, for number 15.
What? After getting 300K a month?
From 300K a month to a Kamagera.
What?
Collecting 5 bulbs for a living. It was not good. So I went back to what I knew best, which was construction business. So I had to go back to entry level.
Okay.
So in the fellowship, 12-step fellowship, so this guy who had a very large real estate company, so he called any guy who might need a job. So I talked to him and he told me, come paint, because I knew how to paint.
Okay.
So we painted for some time, then he tells me, dude, you don't fit in here.
What are you supposed to do?
This is not you,
Okay.
basically. So I leave there and I start working at an organization funded by the UN.
Oh, doing what?
It was mainly for outreach for heroin addicts. It was funded through the HIV/AIDS angle. And this is where I first see this young lady.
Wow.
But I didn't see you.
She was an addict. So we used to go to the dens, we used to go to the
So you
back
were,
streets.
for you it was a session and then you're going into...
For her, we used to go to where they are and we go to them, we talk to them about HIV/AIDS, how to...
Look at that.
There's a time we walked her to a psychiatrist's office and we really talked about medication and all that stuff. She was trying to get clean while still being on the streets, which is really, really hard.
So you were drawn to her, just persistence to...
Just persistence, get sober. It was nothing romantic, no nothing.
Oh, yeah?
By the way,
So
she's
just-
still looking fly.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah. She is
Continue.
still. So,
Uhuru Park.
World Drugs Day, one of those years. And suddenly she disappears from the streets. So,
You don't see her again.
Sina Shugli, life goes on, continue working. And then World Drugs Day happens and she's representing the rehab where she was staying at that particular time. And I come representing this organization and we are talking. And fortunately or unfortunately, we were still hooked to the cigarettes. So we were smoking corner Uhuru Park. And it's World Drugs Day. What a conundrum. Anyway, so we talked and started seeing each other in another light. And I persisted. I really persisted. So this is the part of the story she tells best.
You can take over.
So the other time we met, the other time you came to Caltex and you gave me your number.
Wow, Caltex, it's a while ago.
Yeah, I pretended like nimesave number yake.
So you're not interested initially?
No, I was not interested. By then he was very thin. He was looking like a small boy. So
I'm very well preserved.
So, and then now the other time we met, ilikuwa kwa meeting ya NA.
Yeah.
And we really talked. Still, you gave me your number. Hata siku save tena.
So pretty much it was your journey in recovery that brought you guys together.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, for that dynamic in your relationship, having both a past of using drugs, did that affect your relationship, or did that bring better understanding? How was it for the both of you?
Both parts. It was very good because we could understand. I could even tell her what she's craving, or she could tell me you're craving, or you're going back to. You can stop the drugs, but you can sometimes not stop being the addict. There's some behavior you might continue. She's been continuously working on my rough edges, and I've also been working on hers. But the other is emotionally, a person stagnates at the age which they started using drugs. For me, it was quite young.
I see.
For her, she was a bit older. So you can see the clash.
I see.
Even if I stopped using way before her.
So how did you work on that?
Personal growth. It's a journey. It's a journey and a half. And the other challenge was also now even the people around us. The stigma. Unajua demu yako alikuwa hivi na hivi na hivi. Or she's been brought for stories about me. You remember, I was 1 GB. It was really thin. So she kept on being told. Now I was working in an organization which the main focus was HIV/AIDS. So
so they would give her certain stories like,
boys wako, unapataje job huko? Huko hivi. So which was, not true. So we had to work through a lot of struggles. And we soldiered through.
On that note, we take a short break. When we come back, we get to hear more about their purpose now. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying tuned, and special thanks once again to Park and Radisson for hosting us today. Now, Judy and Bernard, you were saying before the break that what changed you is your faith that impacted your life differently. Tell us more about that. How did that make you see life differently?
Okay, when I was in addiction, I used to miss Judy, the Judy I used to know. Because, as I told you, when you get to addiction, the first thing you lose is you lose yourself. You stay even for days without shower. So I really used to miss Judy. I used to miss to be clean, to be neat, and all that. And when I got clean, when I started going to church, relating with people embracing you. Because when you're in addiction, hata hakuna mtu anataka kukaa na wewe. Wewe ni mchafu. Every time you're just thinking about stealing. And because when you're in addiction, nobody wants to be associated with you. But now when we got clean, unaona hata watu wanataka kuwa rafiki yako. That really motivated us to stay clean. And hata iyo becoming somebody. Having yourself, becoming yourself again. That really helped us.
For me, it was mainly on the identity.
Identity.
People confuse religion and spirituality. Spirituality is your connection with God, which informs your connection with other people and your connection with yourself. So once you're able to find that out, you can even now start charting forward your journey. And I'd gone through religions.
You tried different
religions. The same, I was trying different drugs. I was trying different religions. I tried relationships. There's something called serial monogamy. So you have a chick, a relationship. 3 months, you've gone through the whole spectrum. Baka divorce, the next person. Nothing is working. By the time we met up, and one of the biggest decisions we also made together was we quit smoking together. For her, it was much easier.
Why?
She
had done it for a shorter time?
No.
No, it was just by the grace of God.
By the grace of God. And the next one was also getting saved, where we gave our lives to Christ. And from then on, we started a journey. It's still, again, it's an individual journey. Yes, we did it together, but our encounters with God are different.
Completely
totally
different.
Yeah.
Completely different. But I like that you brought out the identity part.
Yes.
You brought a sense of identity, which for me is also, I think, what births purpose.
Yes.
And for you both now, you have a rehab center.
Yes.
So you could tell us what led to that decision.
I used to work very far from home, and I could spend days without seeing him. So opening a rehab was a way of bringing us together, and then rehabs are quite expensive. So we wanted to do something that is quite affordable. Yeah.
And plus injecting the whole base of spirituality. We had seen people who had a connection with a higher power getting faster results than people who just were just going through the motions. For them to be stable. So imagine supporting this person for 2 years. It's not those 3 months or 6 months he's in treatment. For 2 years. Because this person needs to look for a job.
Yeah.
This person needs support when looking and starting new relationships.
Yeah.
This person needs support when they are going out and about in society. They need the acceptance from their family that you are one of ours and we love you and we have not thrown you away. Exactly. We hated what you used to do in your addiction. We hated your addiction, but we still love you.
And that's very important, like what you said, that when you became clean and you could feel love again and be accepted into a community, shows you the power of love, how far love can bring healing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And support groups, very important.
Very, very important. You meet your peers. Your people, you just tell them, I'm just feeling, do not, means, in not so many languages. Generally, women, you speak in subtext. Also, as addicts, we speak in subtext. Somebody can just come and say, I'm feeling lonely. And you're wondering, this person comes from a family of 12 people and they live in the same house. How can this person feel lonely? But it's because even the language you're speaking is different.
I see. But what are you?
Me, what has really worked for me, I can say, one, it is God, because for sure it takes God.
It does.
And the second thing is that every time I feel like going back there, I normally tell myself, play the movie to the end. Don't just see that part of getting high and feeling good.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to go back to where I was. Siwezi taka kurudi kwa streets tena. At that time, nobody wanted to be associated with me. Now, everybody wants to be associated with me. And there are so many people looking up to me. Yeah. I don't want to lose that. Okay. You know, now that I'm united with my family, I have a husband, there are people who are depending on me. Yeah. I wouldn't want to lose that. So when I think about that.
When you realize what you have, you don't use it.
Yeah.
So through this all, what has been your happiest and what's your moment you're most proud of through this journey? As individually and as a couple?
Individually, for me, it would be the being part of the transformative process of each and every person that comes through our hands. They come in 1 GB, hallucinating, finished, and they come out of there still evolving, but a much better person. A person who at least has an idea about what is happening forward. And you meet this person 3 years later on and you can't recognize them. And the guy is telling me, you remember me? And I'm like, oh, and you're just saying oh for the sake of saying oh, but you're loving what you see.
I see.
And we thank God for it.
So as we wrap, to those at home, there could be someone who's going through addiction. What message can you give them? And then also to the caregiver, it could be the mother, it could be the partner or brother or friend. What can you tell them in terms of how can they be of good support that will actually help them instead of enabling. What can you do to actually help them, and what are the signs?
For family members is don't get tired. Don't get tired. Be part of the treatment process. Even when the person is going through treatment, for most facilities nowadays, the family is also going through treatment because this person has stressed you, you have not slept, you are now behaving differently. You are basically what we call codependent. In very simple terms, you're addicted to the addict. The addict's behavior will determine your behavior. So you have to wait for them, for you to know how to behave.
Yeah.
So your life is on hold as a parent, as a caregiver. So you also need some help so that even when this person gets out of treatment, you'll be supportive at the best.
What do they do?
Family programs is whereby you're part of not only the patient's healing process, you also get to work on your own issues as a family member.
I see.
Yeah. The other thing is family members and also addicts themselves have this idea, this person has to go through rehab. They just go, they talk, the problem is out, finished. Now, having preconceived ideas doesn't help with the treatment process. So again, let the professionals work it out. Let the professionals work it out. I know it's a part of the healing is talking, but it's not negotiating on treatment. Treatment has to happen. When the doctor tells you need 6 shots of antibiotics, if the psychologist says this, a psychiatrist says this, addictions counselor says this, just follow it to the letter. Just follow it to the letter.
Be patient.
Be
what
very,
I'm getting with this
very
patient. Be patient with.
And just allow the process to work. Don't rush it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I can definitely say from just seeing the both of you, I didn't know you then when you're addicts, but I can see people who are at peace. You even glow, like you have a glow, you're happy. So thank you for choosing this path and being an inspiration and encouragement to others. Time for the show to end. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate. Do reach us on our handles right below if you want to know more about the center. I will definitely share that with you so you can reach out to both Judy and Bernard. And we thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Special thanks to Parkin Radisson for hosting us. We truly appreciate. Do have a blessed week. Bye.